Only finished that one, yeah.
But I thought you still needed because it wasn't quite where you wanted it to be.
No, I did a
So
full
that was-
revision on it, so that was done, so that was timely because I was just finishing up. The manuscript request came in, so I finished that up, sent it out. Second one is drafted, but I have not done any revisions on it. I just drafted it, set it down. And this one's completely different, it's sort of setting against rain, it's biologically bad. But I'm already sort of off of that.
Call this meeting to order and will the guests and board members please rise for the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, if you would please call the roll.
Be pleased to, Madam Clerk. Trustee Mohica. Trustee Cascarella.
Present.
Trustee Bureau.
Present.
Trustee Bowen.
Here.
Treasurer Fito was here. Madam Clerk,
Yes, here.
you have a quorum, 5 members, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. You want to support motion to excuse? It's been moved and seconded to excuse trustee Mohica. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We have before you the agenda. Pleasure of the board.
Madam Clerk, I move the agenda as presented.
Support. It's been moved and supported to accept the agenda as presented. There is one little typo thing that we discussed that will be changed. So when you see the final copy, it'll look mildly different, but not worth pulling it. So thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. With that, Courtney, I open the public hearing for the 2025 budget.
Just a quick overview.
Can you do a quick overview, please? You have to work for that 25 budget.
So attached is the budget, mostly the same as when you guys saw it last. The only change was that the Mall Ivan Elmwood pathway project was pushed a fiscal year, so that was removed. So we're gonna work on that for 2026. The millage rates that are to be levied are listed. The millage to pay for the sheriff's substation bond is lower than last year, so that is what should happen with that millage is as taxable values increase, that millage will decrease because I need less of it to make the money that I need to pay the bond. So that's down to 0.92. I think our original estimate on the ballot was like 1.1 something, so we've kept that low. Yeah, not too many other updates since the last time it was discussed. Does include the CIA, which was voted on by the CIA board, and the brownfield, which has, I think, just under 2 years of capture left. So 25 and 26, and we should be done with it for the project across the street. Exciting.
Okay.
You mean the Hilton Garden Inn?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so there's
Yeah.
only 2 years left on that?
Yeah, so I think it's gonna end up being 7 instead of, I believe, 12 or 13, like it was estimated.
Yeah,
That one came in.
so quite a
Wow.
significant amount of time, less time.
And the cost was less,
Mhm.
like 880,000.
Okay.
Pull the mic down a couple.
Oh, okay.
We're having trouble hearing.
Any other questions?
Any other comments?
No, I would just want to commend Courtney, you and staff and administration as a whole. It's a very, very understandable presentation, your executive summary. You know, it's multiple pages, but it's all pertinent and it's an easy read, you know, not just for board members, but also the general public as well. So I do appreciate the context and how you present that. And then you get to the numbers, which I love. And just for the record, I'd like to get a hard copy of those, the
sure.
spreadsheets, you know,
Mhm.
in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you. So, I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion I think we have a motion.
We have to take public comment.
Yeah,
Oh,
we don't pass the budget today.
go ahead.
I think
I'm
we are.
sorry.
I just had one question, and I know Clerk Clark, you had raised this, some time ago, but I just was looking in the budget and I know there was a pretty significant increase, not context of the budget significant, but for what the budget was, for the board members, to attend conferences. And I know you had shared, you know, you had raised an issue about a policy around, that, and I realize this is just funding there, but it feels like those two pieces should go together. And you mentioned, and I apologize, I don't recall what community.
City of Lansing
City of
uses,
Lansing, okay,
a line item allocation, so each person gets X amount of money. And then like, if they want to go to a conference, it gets charged to that. If they want to attend a chamber event, it gets charged to that. That kind of thing, just to kind of help manage it all a little better. But I feel like that,
so I think we
Right, it
more than
doesn't,
double our budget almost
Yeah,
2.5
yeah.
times.
since it doesn't really take effect till January 1, so we could still do that
Time
before
to
the
do
fiscal
that.
year. Yeah.
I just don't want that to be lost on
Right.
that, and I don't know if that dollar amount's the right amount or, you know, given the policy, but I mean, I suppose there's flexibility to make adjustments later if that's not necessary, but I just think it's important we have
Mhm.
that conversation around the policy with that too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so,
Cause I don't think do we have a policy?
no.
Do
And
not
we
have a
should have
policy.
something.
So, we use a number based on experience over the last year, which has changed as we get further from the pandemic. There's been more utilization, and again, not whether it's good or bad, just a policy discussion of some type of, policy on what the board feels for a budget and how it's allocated, just to help us with staff.
Well, that, I think, yeah, I agree. It helps staff have that clarity and then we know for certainty kind of what we'll be spending. It's not this open amount that could be spent from year to year fluctuate.
Brian, do we know what Meridian Township does?
I do not know off the top of my head, no.
All right, so that data could be part of our discussion as well.
Yeah, we can get
That's
some.
typically one of the first things we do is to look at other communities
Yeah.
to at least get as a measure. And
Yeah. Yep, that would be good to get a better idea of what other surrounding like status communities would have in that particular regard as far as a policy.
And I would entertain, if there are any other questions or comments?
The close.
Public?
I can't hear either. I didn't hear, she said, and I can't hear you, Brian.
Sorry, I'm trying to talk side to side. We'll be more
The mics are.
cognizant on it.
I know.
They're on. Can you hear us? Can you hear me now?
Better, yes.
Okay.
Usually they're hypersensitive, so
We-
maybe they got turned down and now we're just assuming they pick up every breath.
Yeah.
Well, they always have been very sensitive, so I'm not sure what's happened the last couple of weeks.
I can
But
too.
I moved
Much
another
better.
mic to me. So does anyone from the public have questions or comments? If so, please go to the podium. If not, I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion to approve the proposed 2025 budget.
No, we don't prove it
Yes, we
today,
do.
do we?
We have it on there to do it. It's your choice whether you want.
Oh, is it on there? Yeah,
Yeah, we have it worded
the
that way
motion's
so that
in
you
there.
can,
Yeah.
so that you can approve it, but
Yeah.
it's up to you whether you want.
We
to.
typically do it before the November election, yes.
Well, I want to put out a proposal. I've talked to a couple board members, I think it's kind of important that the township try to continue and improve the quality of life for our citizens, and a part of that quality of life is having public art and public improvement of public spaces. And rather than us every 3 or 4 years entertain a $5,000 match for a LEAP grant for public art, I think we should carve out a certain amount of money from our budget, our uncommitted general fund infrastructure budget for those purposes. And then it would just be a commitment then for this board to invest in the community in public art every year. And it could also be not necessarily a piece of art, but it also could be a public space improvement. It could be some gardening, I don't know, but it could be something of definitive value, aesthetically to the township.
You
And
mean like planters down Saginaw?
well, it could be any number of things. What comes to mind is, speaking of conferences, every year, a number of municipalities, they have some big project they've done that they want to get an award or recognition from the either the Michigan Townships Association or the Michigan Municipal League. And, these communities take great pride in their public development projects. And some of them are major and some of them aren't so major. One that came to mind was the city of Houghton. And basically, it was a public space that had been created because of a torn down building in their downtown area. And the city supplied the materials, the paint, and some of the infrastructure improvements for a stairway that goes from down at river level up to the Main Street level. And all the citizens that were interested pitched in, and they did 90% of the work on that thing. It was really quite nice. And those types of things. So it isn't necessarily just a piece of art. It could be a community public space improvement project. It could be any number of those things. I don't profess to say that I have an artful eye on anything, but I do recognize that those types of investments bring value to, the citizens, the residents of the township, and just really do enhance the quality of life in this township and make it more desirable to enjoy and live here. So I would like to carve out a certain amount of money. I'm negotiable on that. I was throwing out maybe $25,000 just as a figure that we earmark for such projects and improvements. It doesn't mean we have to spend it all, but we would have at least a signal that, we're committed to doing a public improvement, either through a piece of art or a public space improvement project. And I think that would be of beneficial use to the residents to enjoy.
I don't disagree with you. I'm not sure that's a, Brian or Courtney, where, or if it needs to be a line item in this budget, or it could be an allocation, like, just for point of clarity. We got $10,000 for the Craig Mitchell Smith piece of art, out on the east side of the building, and we spent about 20. Nobody hears but me that was there when it happened. I wanted to say we spent somewhere in the neighborhood of 25,000 was our part of it. So,
For you.
pardon me?
I was just saying I was here.
Were you? It was your first little bit, so,
Yes.
it was. So I don't disagree, but I think that the expectation that if we wanted to do something major, we may have to save and plan for 2 years. Plus the execution of it was that, but I don't know what other comments are, and I guess I need from Courtney what the action.
I mean, you can increase the appropriation by 25,000 if you want to. That's on the, just amend the motion to increase it by 25,000 if you want to include that, or we can always do a budget amendment to include it after, once you've, decided what you want to do. So either way.
Okay, Beth, do you have a question?
Well, the Greater Lansing Arts Council put on a placemaking conference that trustee Brewer and I attended 2 weeks ago now. And they partner with the city of Lansing and lots of different things in the area. And since we are a part of the Greater Lansing area, I think they would make a great partner, the way we have partnered with the Capital Area Housing Partnership, you know, in guiding us into this, since we are newbies to this, and they have mural painters, they have, you know, other people who are used to bringing public art and music and placemaking to public spaces. So, you know, whatever the amount we land on, I think that the first step would be to consult with them. And perhaps even before an amount is chosen of, you know, what we can do, what we want to do. I don't think that it has to be really expensive.
No.
It can be small things.
Sorry.
As Beth said, we attended a placemaking conference. It was thrilling, to say the least. I think we walked away ready to go paint some walls or do something creative that day. But I could see Delta Township in that. I could see us doing more, a little bit more placemaking to further expand our identity and to make sure we're inclusive of everybody that's represented in our community, because we have such a diverse community. And I would love to see us make this a priority. It's a priority to me. Seniors and placemaking, safety, those things along the line are priorities to me. And I would love to see us make this investment. I would even suggest that we, at some point, develop a placemaking committee. Take it seriously, put the work behind it, and let them help come up with ideas for, and a strategy. So something more than just putting something somewhere, but a strategy as part of our strategic planning, which I think we talked about placemaking in our strategic planning some time ago.
We do have a staff that is our placemaking staff, so we can have conversations and bring them into it. It's not a Parks Department. Andrea?
Yeah, Courtney, I think you touched on this, that it could either be done now or as an amendment later. And Beth, appreciate your comments too. I think it's, you know, a great idea. It feels like maybe we need to think around this a little bit more and understand what an appropriate amount of an investment and what some of the options and ideas. So a little more, I think, that background work just behind what this looks like and what kind of a little bit more of a strategy and a plan, so that later we could do an amendment and kind of have clarity around what the program looks
And
like.
for a project.
Yeah.
Land project.
Yeah.
Is that suffice, or?
Well, I'm a little confused. I think I'm detecting, you know, enthusiasm, you know, discuss this and making some sort of investment. And I think the question comes down to, it's not just a dollar amount that we earmark, that we don't necessarily have to spend. A budget is just a plan. It's not a mandate to spend. If we earmark 25 or whatever the number is, we're not increasing our expenditures overall by that amount. We're just reallocating. Okay, that's all we're doing. So I guess my point is that if we pass this budget tonight, then if we don't have that, we won't have that statement in our budget.
Well, it won't be in the budget, but it would be in the minutes.
Well, right, I mean, so I guess there's two ways, right? So if you want to add it, then you would need to change the appropriation. We adopt the budget on a fund level, so if you want us to use money for something that's not the way that it's itemized in all the
Right.
pages, but doesn't exceed that number on page one, we have to, I mean, we can do that. So it doesn't have to be itemized in the budget.
Okay, so then how do we just memorialize it by, we have a further discussion and then we say, okay, this is a new project, and then just take it out of the unallocated general fund?
Right, we would have to approve the amount. The board would have.
No,
to
I understand
vote.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't think you
Yes.
would necessarily, unless you wanted to increase the total amount that we're allowed to spend next year, which it doesn't sound like is what
No.
you want to just
no,
incorporate it.
no,
in
no,
what
I just
we
want
already
to
have.
stay within our revenues, obviously,
Then-
so it's just a
Yeah, then you
reallocation.
don't need to do anything at this point.
Okay, well, I thought it was important that we have this discussion. I think we're pretty much in agreement on that, so we'll have time to come back, but
Yes, we can put
Good
it on a
discussion.
future,
Yeah.
the whole agenda item.
sounds good.
Okay. So I'm still looking for a motion. Andrea?
I was gonna say, I move to approve the fiscal year 25 budget as presented. Support.
Treasurer Fedor, would you please call roll?
Trustee Cascarella,
Yes.
trustee Bowman,
Yes.
trustee Brewer,
Yes.
Tika is absent, treasurer Fido is a yes, clerk Clark.
Yes,
We have 5 votes in the affirmative, Madam Clerk.
thank you. Motion carries. And we will put that discussion on a future agenda. I'm not gonna pin that staff into a certain time without
Yeah.
talking to Brian. I do want him to speak to me tomorrow.
It would be nice. I don't know if the folks you met with could come in for committee of the whole. That might be helpful
Sure,
to
they
have
would
a
love- they would
discussion.
Love it. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Communications, we have a number of communications for Worth Altium 3 Public Safety Facility, which by the way is looking really, it's coming along though. Rain Garden's gonna be going in soon. And then the St. Joe Water Main and Pathway Project, and I think you probably all saw that there's a road closure starting today on that. So moving on to the consent agenda, and I would entertain a motion for the consent agenda, of which there is a lot, but we've discussed a lot of these. Fonda,
I move the consent agenda as presented.
support?
Support. Oh, sorry. I thought you, I thought she was saying.
I don't, as a chair, I'm not doing
It
anything.
sounded
I
like
am.
you were.
We got-
skipped over public comment.
Oh, sorry. Okay, let's do this on this, on the consent agenda. Okay, what's your?
WRRF, what's WRRF stand for?
Never skip public comment.
I did, I saw that. All right. That's the waste, go ahead.
Want my name? Virginia DeLuca. Okay, I just want to know what it stands for, WRRF.
Water Resource Recovery Facility.
And
It's
what
our
is it?
wastewater treatment
Is
plant.
that the new one down here on Canal?
Yeah.
On Willow.
Okay, I have a question about that. Can I ask a question about that right now?
Yeah, it's public comment.
Okay.
Is it public?
I want to know how come we had that beautiful building, then we put all that money into it, and now they tore it down. What is that there for? Why did we tear that building down? That was the other one,
Which,
You mean the
which
old
building?
one?
I just have a question.
Rick, do you want to address that?
Which beautiful building?
I have a lot of questions, actually.
Could you re-ask the question? I don't.
I just want to know why we had that, that building hadn't been there that long. And then one day I go by and it's down. I come back from, and it was down. And I thought, I would put all this money into this other building. So I just wanted to know why we took that. I just want to know why we spent all that money.
Okay, on the bottom of the hill, the original building,
On the left-hand side, on the north side of the street, as you go towards, when you go east.
okay, that was originally built in 1972
Mhm,
and then was upgraded in 1986. And that was our control building.
mhm.
Now, part of our plant was 40 years old. And we
That
were,
plant was 40 years old.
yes, ma'am. And we were having a lot of end of life failures. And so we had to rebuild it for 3 reasons. One is it was end of life. It was over 40 years old.
Mhm.
The EGLE, I don't want to say EGLE, required us to add an additional treatment process to meet AWT or Advanced Waste Treatment criteria, which we have a permit that allows us to discharge a certain set quantity of nutrients and solids and stuff. And we went from a value that was back in the 80s was set. Now we have to create and basically build a plant to be able to treat for a much lower value of
Okay, so
constituents
that
going up.
plant there and the one over the bridge, the one before the bridge, they're both water plants?
No,
Okay.
the one we're rebuilding is a wastewater treatment plant. It's a sanitary sewer. So in part of being able to meet those additional requirements by Eagle, we have to put in another process. And it's not at either end, it's right in the middle. And we did not have enough hydraulic grade to efficiently, without an additional pumping station to get enough flow to flow through economically. So we pretty much had to redesign and rebuild the entire process.
That's fine.
Mhm.
Okay,
Okay, thank you, Rick.
okay, is that,
So,
oh, go ahead.
So just, thank you, Rick.
Yeah.
So just so you know, in public comment, you can ask your questions, but you may not get them addressed tonight.
Oh, okay,
So, okay.
oh, that's
but-
fine. And I,
do-
okay, I have another question. But I don't know if I can ask it right now. It might have to be later. It's
If
about,
this is public comment, so. if
so
you have a-
anything I could talk about.
Correct.
Oh, good, okay, okay.
Within a reasonable amount of time.
Well, I've come here many times. I'm right across the Redwood project on Willow. And I'm not real happy. Number one, today it took me 22 cars to get on my driveway, 22 cars. 22 cars before I could come out on Willow to come here tonight. Okay, and they promised, oh no, it's gonna be all senior citizens. You're not gonna hear any traffic. They're not gonna have cars. They're only gonna be one car. I mean, I got the minutes from the meetings that I was here. So I thought, okay, fine. So about a year after, I came up here and I said, I have a question. Why is it that I see school buses going in there? It's supposed to be a 55 and older subdivision. There are school buses. They told me when I came here, Ken Fletcher, I think, told me this. He said, well, we had a small little thing on the bottom that if we could rent it, we can rent it to anybody. Well, that's not right. And and I asked for a road study. They wouldn't give me a road study. And then I also heard that we're gonna put another road from Saginaw onto Willow where I live. Where's all these, I can't get on my driveway now. How can you approve a road from Saginaw all the way down to Willow from that Redwood, all those cars there? 11 o'clock at night, you hear this one car go by 100 miles an hour. You get up, because you hear them, their noise, but they don't leave at night, you guys said. They're never gonna leave at night. And I have all the minutes at home, because I have the whole thing from the meetings that I attended. So those are my questions. I just have the problem with that, approving another road. You don't have a road study, you have the 45 miles an hour. And you know, they took my whole road, that subdivision, they took my front of my house, they had to take all my trees down, and they are done now because they already used all the easement they can, because I've already came up here. And now I heard they want to make a 3-lane on Willow. Because I heard, and they said they're looking to sell the property behind me too, and they want to put 3 lanes and where Baines, where all are located there. I thought, no. But I just have a lot of problems. I just think there's too much traffic on Willow, and I don't think that we were really, and then they put the other road on the other side, and I came up here, they didn't even tell us about it. We have to be 300 feet to know about it. And I think it should be more than 300 feet, because that impacts me just as much as it impacts 300 feet. It impacts me more.
Okay, so, planning and a manager meet with the road commission quarterly. So I will have them, they can discuss. I hadn't heard of a plan to make Willow 3 lanes, so. And.
I mean, that's what I just heard. I heard this
Not
last
aware.
week. That's why I came tonight, because I heard that and I thought this is ridiculous.
The road from Saginaw to Willow that I think you're referring to as the marketplace extension.
Exactly.
Just for the long.
But they're coming to, it's
term
gonna come to
plan.
Willow. It's gonna come right out at Willow,
Right.
right in front of my house. No, I don't like that. I mean, that's ridiculous, I think. Would you like that to come in front of your house? They took all my trees down. I have no trees. I have no barriers now up there. I had to fight to get 2 trees from the people that put that redwood forest stamp. They took all my trees down.
Okay, so they'll meet with the road commission and then,
I just don't think I don't think there needs to be more traffic on Willow. I just think there's too much traffic going down there. They're taking it now, and you get that, you're gonna get twice as much now.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Because I skipped over public comment and we just had a portion of it. Does anyone else like to speak in public comment?
Hi, I'm Kathy Pike. I'm here once again speaking on behalf of the Waverly Board of Education as a member. 2 weeks ago, I was here and I spoke about the water project and its effect on the kids walking to school. And I don't know if anybody's aware of this, but people hardly ever tell us when we do something good. And I would like to thank the board because you guys did something great. That meeting, Mr. Kane and Mr. Kleinheinz talked to me right away to explain the situation. Mr. Reed, I know you have been in discussion with Mr. Newfer about communicating, and I really appreciate it. I appreciate the speediness with which the walk has been almost completed. Kids can walk to school now safely. I know the snow road thing is going to impede some people, but we can now get into the driveway, which had been dug up, so parents can safely take their children to and from school. So I just wanted to make sure you knew we noticed, and we thank you for it.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Appreciate that. Any other comments? Thank you. Okay, I'll go back. I have a motion on the floor. Trustee Brewer made the motion. Trustee Bowen seconded it to approve the consent agenda. Roll call, please.
Trustee Brewer,
Yes.
trustee Bowen,
Yes.
trustee Coscarella,
Yes.
trustee Mohica. Treasurer Fidos, yes. Clerk Clark?
Yes.
You have 5 votes in the affirmative.
Thank you. And we move on to new business. And we have a special land use permit. Peter.
Good evening, everyone. So tonight is the discussion on the special land use permit for the construction of a 280-foot tall wireless communications facility at 388 South Canal. So like I said, it's 280 feet. It's a self-supporting wireless communications tower. Property is zoned industrial. The site that is being proposed, I did hand out an air photo to the members here. There's a smaller map of that in your staff memo, but there's a larger one that I handed out just so you could see the site better. So it's a 40 by 80 leased area within a 17 acre parcel that's being used right now by Capital Asphalt, owned by Capital Asphalt. It is an asphalt plant. So it's hard to get around. You can't really drive to it. There's big piles of aggregate and other materials on that site. So it's kind of hard to actually get back to, but there's a page in your there's a site plan in the documents in the staff memo that show basically a 20-foot access utility easement from canal back to this leased area. Within that leased area, there would be the tower. There's usually a generator and some other equipment within that area. It's all surrounded by a 6-foot tall fence with barbed wire on top of it. And we've got residential parcels that are over 2,000 feet away. So the planning commission held their hearing on this special land use permit last Monday, and they recommended approval subject to 5 conditions that are on page 2 of the staff memo. And we have provided a motion on the memo to grant approval of this. Once this has, and the planning commission also granted approval to the site plan. If you were to grant approval to the special use permit tonight, the applicant would work with our site plan review team. So that consists of planning, fire, utilities, building, and for the secondary staff review portion of the project. And then we basically review the plan, provide the applicant with comments. Sometimes we get a revised set of plans and we work to resolve any outstanding issues, all of that leading to a building permit. So if you have any questions, I certainly will do my best to answer them. And then the applicant is here this evening as well.
Fonda.
Thank you, Mary. Peter, this is going to be used by T-Mobile, and then it says, and eventually AT&T?
Yeah, well, I would defer to the applicant, explain how that works for
Okay.
you, if you don't mind.
No, I don't mind at all.
Hello, my name is Ryan Whitley and I'm with Fortune Wireless. I'm here on behalf of Vertical Bridge, who is going to be building the tower. What was your question specifically?
It says here in our documentation that the tower is to support T-Mobile and eventually AT&T?
That's correct. So right across the street, if you guys are familiar with that asphalt plant, I believe it's Public Water Board or
Lansing Board Water and Light Facility. It's directly across the street
Right.
from that the Delta Energy Park.
Currently, AT&T and T-Mobile both have wireless equipment on that smokestack. That smokestack is being decommissioned, which is why
Right.
we're in this process.
Okay.
So T-Mobile will be the anchor tenant, so the first one to come on. And then AT&T, we're assuming will come right behind them.
And are there any other uses of that pole?
Sure, I mean, as far as public utilities, sometimes fire, police, whoever may choose to need a tower to broadcast.
Or other carriers, right?
Or other carriers, of
Right.
course. Vertical Bridge is in the business of leasing that tower space. So it is in their interest. They go actively market it. And they try to bring people on to utilize each of these towers to its capacity if they can.
Okay, so they're the owners of the tower,
That's correct.
Vertical Bridge.
Right.
And they could, as you said, market and will probably to other wireless companies or.
100%. I mean, basically, there's really only three, maybe four: T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T.
Mhm.
There may be some smaller ones. Dish has started to put equipment up on cell towers too,
Okay.
but it could be anybody, honestly.
And that's one of the first things that we look at is co-location. So instead of just proliferation of new towers, community would be exhaust your options and co-location. And then eventually maybe a new tower, but they would have to lease out this facility first.
And does this company, Vertical Bridge, have other towers in
Oh,
our
yes.
township? How
The
many?
Bridge is huge.
In
I
our
don't
township,
have the
she's
In
exact
our
number.
township?
Oh, I would have to go back and find that. There's a ton of towers. I can try to find that information for you, but that's gonna be a hunt.
It shouldn't be, but okay.
Well, I'm just saying, there's so many towers in a general given area, especially being by Lansing. They're probably everywhere. We only have access to the ones that we know are registered. So anything over 200 feet has to be registered with the FCC.
Right.
If it's a shorter tower than that, they don't have to register it.
Interesting.
So
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else have questions, Beth?
Peter, why do they need the special land use for this?
Along with any other land use, special land use permits in general, just anything that might need like additional review. So it's just there's the way their zoning ordinance is set up is there's general standards and then there's use specific standards. So we have a section of the ordinance that speaks specifically to wireless communication facilities. And really, it's just like a double check to make sure that the staff and the elected and appointed officials are aware of all the requirements. So like our standards that are all listed in the staff memo all speak to the certifications that have to, did we get a letter from the FAA certifying that they are legit? Are they providing lighting in accordance with, now we're not necessarily the experts that can answer yes or no, but we have the proper documentation to ensure that of all the things that are required for a land use like this in our community, which is different than a lot of the things that we typically see. That's what I mean by special. So the things that are listed as special are typically things that just need that one additional layer of review to ensure that we're covering all our bases.
Okay.
In a nutshell.
And the property owner would get the special land use permit. So that would be the asphalt company that owns the land.
Well, in this case, it actually is it goes with the property. Special land use permits go with the property
Right.
and it runs with the property. So the applicant, in this case is Vertical Bridge, they've applied with permission and authorization from Capital Asphalt, whatever LLC owns the property. But then the permission for the tower stays with the property. So Vertical Bridge goes bankrupt tomorrow, or Capital Asphalt decides to get into a totally different business and sell the property. Whoever buys that next still has the land use approval from the township.
Right.
To stay there. Now there are some standards in our ordinance for if they were to go out of business, and there's a clause that, and it's actually, we noted in the staff memo, like if they were to go out of business within 90 days, they have to take the tower down.
Okay.
So that we have some assurances that if this falls apart, we're not stuck with the infrastructure forever.
Peter, are they required to bond that?
In some cases, they do bond. Historically, the township has not required a bond. I'm comfortable with the language that we have in our ordinance right now, that if we had to have this removed, that we have the ability to, because we have it stated in our ordinance. But in some communities, they
But
do
who
require a
pays
bond.
for it is the question.
Ultimately, I think the property owner.
Okay,
I haven't gone through that battle myself, but
Mhm.
our ordinance does speak to it. Some communities do require a bond. We have not done that. At least historically.
Andrea, did you have a question? I have one more.
No.
I have a question.
Peter, so if the FAA or any of those change any restrictions or requirements, are they grandfathered or do they have to, you probably don't know the answer to that, but curious minds want to know.
I'll defer to.
So when it comes to the FAA, anytime that for instance, a new antenna is put up, for instance, 5G. You guys have probably all heard about this in the news in regard to the airplanes, how the 5G interacts with them. They have to file all these frequencies every time they make these changes. So they are updating their FAA, FCC as they go. And it's part of their regulatory too.
Okay, thanks. Dennis.
And one, just extra piece of that is that we write our approvals, and I think our ordinance is written pretty generally to that if these laws are to change, it's kind of just as, you know, and require ongoing compliance in perpetuity as to whatever standards exist at the time.
Something like that. Okay, Dennis.
Yeah, a general question. This tower is 280 feet. It's to replace the smokestack, the board of water and light. Is that the same height? The smokestack?
I do not believe so. I don't actually know how tall that actual tower is. The equipment currently on it is mounted somewhere around 130, 150.
Okay.
So there's a lot of tower above it, but I don't have an exact height on it.
So this is going to be 280 feet,
270 foot is
270
the
feet.
actual top of the tower and then a 10-foot lightning rod. So 280 feet
Right,
overall.
right. And so you don't know if this is the same height of what's in place on the board of water and light
I do
smokestack?
not. Now,
Are you asking about the smokestack height? Or are you asking for where they're gonna
What
place?
I'm asking is, I know it's 280 feet for this tower. Are there facilities, there electromagnetic, whatever you call it,
radiation, yeah.
that goes out, the signals, is that at the same height?
I believe this one will be taller. Like I said, I don't have an exact specific. I can find that information for you if you'd like
No,
it.
I'm just curious.
But we designed this tower with T-Mobile as the anchor tenant to whatever their network
Yeah,
specifications
okay,
were requiring.
okay.
So I'm assuming they went up, they're gonna be at about 155, 160 feet, I believe, or 265 feet, I believe, is where they will mount their equipment and then start bringing them down for there.
I see, okay. And question for Peter on this. This is a industrial zoned area. What restrictions do we have on towers in residential areas?
That's a good question. I might have to get back to you on that one.
Okay.
I don't think we allow them. I'm gonna go through I just don't have our district table up right now.
Yeah.
We don't allow them in most residential areas.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, if you could look at that,
Yeah.
those restrictions and get back with me on that, I'd appreciate it.
Yep.
All right,
Okay.
thank you. Andrea,
I was gonna make a motion if there
please.
aren't any further questions. I move that the Delta Township Board of Trustees approve the special land use permit request from Vertical Bridge to construct a 280-foot tall wireless communication facility at 3888 South Canal Road, parcel number 040-033-200-068-000 as described in case number PSL 2024-0011. Subject to the 5 conditions that are in our board packet.
Is there support? Support? It's been moved and supported to approve the special land use permit. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Get back to the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to go on record as saying I hate the new Microsoft, so you know. Won't stay this size. The Chill Grant Program Guidelines. I don't know, Erin, are you gonna speak to those, please?
Hello. So as the board knows, last November, we were awarded that grant funding for $500,000 to invest in homeowner rehabilitation programs. Since that time, let me take a step backwards. The state, this is being administered through MISTA, and the state, this is a new program for the state using these non-entitlement getting these CDBG dollars to non-entitlement communities like Delta Township. And so some of the program guidelines are kind of coming now, as opposed to at the very onset, because we were waiting to work with MISTA as they were working through getting all of their policy regulations in place as well. So now that we have all of those in place, we worked with MISTA, utilizing their template guidelines for outlining our program guidelines. These are the guidelines that we've been operating under this entire time. They're pretty dictated by MISTA of how we operate this and administer this program, but we do have to formally adopt them as a board. So that's what's before you this evening.
Andrea.
I just had a question on the administrative fees. The policy allows for up to 18%. That just stuck out as extraordinarily high. Usually 10 is kind of I think feels like a best practice, a pretty established ceiling on that. And so I was really shocked at the 18%. And just curious why and why there would be a need for that, because obviously money pulled aside on the administrative side means less going to residents for improvements with their home.
Sure. So twofold. One, when this program was established, that was the percentage that MISTA set forth as the administrative amount that could be utilized. Why 18%? I don't know where that percentage or how they came up with that formula, but that was established when we initially applied for the grant. We said we wanted to apply for it with that 18% admin fee. The board did approve a contract with a third-party administrator to assist the township in administering this grant. Because these are federal dollars, CDBG and HUD have a lot of administrative requirements. For example, right now we're working through our environmental review process. We had to do environmental reviews of our administrative processes. We have to do environmental reviews of the entire project, and then we have to do site-specific environmental reviews. And this involves staff, either ours or CAP staff, going through meticulously checking federal rules, which I don't know if you've ever read, but the Federal Register, it's a lot, checking, Clean Water Act, checking floodplains, everything from noise to water and everything in between. So there is a lot of administrative burden on both our staff and CAP staff to successfully administer this program. So
thanks for clarifying all that. I do appreciate it. The number just jumped out. So that's helpful to understand.
Of course.
Any other questions or motion,
I'll
Beth?
make a motion.
Mhm.
I move that the Delta Township Board approve the program guidelines for Delta Charter Township for the MISTA Chill Grant Homeowner Improvement Program.
Support. It's been moved and supported to accept the Chill Grant guidelines. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Erin.
Thanks, Erin. Managers report, Brian Reed.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor and board members. Just a few updates tonight. Number one, thanks for your support on the budget. Just congratulate Courtney for all her work on it, and really all of our directors and staff. I know I say this every year, but the budget, just like the audit, is kind of a year-round thing. And I appreciate the fact that, and the township should as well, that we have directors who are very cognizant of their budget. take it very seriously and work hard all year round so that when we get to this point, we can have a well thought out budget that accomplishes the board's goals. Thank you to board members for coming out to the ribbon cuttings today at Mount Hope Park. So those projects were a long time coming to cut the ribbon on the pathway in our two northern ball fields to complete our quad fields at Mount Hope Park. So again, thanks to our Parks Department and our engineering department for all the work that they have put into that and making those projects come to fruition. I have here, Peter passed out his list of
My
projects.
favorite list.
Yeah. So again, I just want to note for the boards, there's roughly 50 projects on here that are active. This does not count projects that we are approached, of which there are probably dozens that have yet to have any public application or anything like that. So every project on here represents a lot of preliminary work, a lot of work during site plan review for all of our departments. Building plan review and the trades, pre-construction meetings, and then a lot of phone calls along the way. So when I talk to each of you about how deluged we are, this list, I think, really shows that it is a constant pressure every day for our staff. So I just want to recognize them. And I know sometimes when you have this much work, there can sometimes be problems. And especially this time of year, everybody's in a hurry wanting to get their project started. Our staff does a great job of trying to accommodate projects, but there are a lot of challenges included in that. So I just want to recognize everybody, planning, utilities, engineering, fire department. Every department touches a piece of these reviews and these projects. So it is really ongoing, and we are fortunate in a way here in Delta to have so much going on. Sometimes it can be a curse. Trustee Bowen had asked for an update on a couple of policy issues. So just at a future meeting, we'll be bringing back for discussion and probably committee of the whole on the Anderson Park discussion. So we are not prepared with that at this point to think through any type of policy discussion or recommendation on that. But that will be at a future meeting. Same thing with the short-term rentals. So Peter gave his presentation 2 weeks ago. I think we received a good direction from the board to come back with an ordinance recommendation. So that will be at a future meeting. I can't give a date on that as of yet. We'll be happy to bring back the placemaking. And we know we do have placemaking strategic plan here, which actually the Lansing Arts Council and Megan Martin helped us create. And she spoke at our employee retreats before. So we have done several things. It is in our township board strategic plan, some of these. So we'll look forward to bring back some of our past efforts that we have done here and then what we can do. I would just say a couple years ago, the board gave us direction to focus on some of our pathway projects and larger projects. So I think we have a lot of talent and willingness to do some of these other things, but just keep in mind, those take extraordinary amount of effort just as much as the $1 million pathways and stuff. So I look forward to the opportunity to have that discussion so we can kind of weigh which direction the board would like to go and what we want to put our focus and staff time into. The trustee Bowen also asked about an update on Waverly. I really appreciate school board Member Pike's comments, because we do especially value our relationship with Waverly. So I know the school resource officer, Troy, has been out there helping some kids cross and trying to keep our deputies are keeping an eye on where if there's any improvements that can be made. And then hopefully we can get the piece of pathway on the east side, first piece done. As she mentioned, the snow road closure is gonna be a 2 or 3 week process. But Troy, the school resource officer, has been out there to help at least identify if there's any type of safety improvements that we can do. Otherwise, we're trying to work around it as best we can and trying to communicate. We did identify some maybe breakdowns in communication from the contractors, so I think we fix those as well and continue to communicate with the superintendent and finance director and hopefully passed along to the board as well. And I think that that completes my report, but happy to answer any questions if anyone has some.
Anyone have questions for Brian?
I have a question. Yeah, actually, there's a question. I'd like to, maybe the next committee of the whole, get a CIA update from staff and what they've been discussing and any activities they've been engaged in, and it'd be good to get an update from them. Okay.
On the CIA too, maybe part of that update doesn't have to be answered today, but I know we have a couple vacancies on there. Well, I guess maybe only one real one, because it's, but I don't know if there's a plan or how long that vacancy has existed and a plan to try and fill that.
We did talk about that at the last meeting.
Sorry. I will run across the room. I just wanted to clarify, we have the supervisor position, so that's a ex officio. So whoever is the supervisor is also on the CIA board, so consider that in your negotiations. And then we do have a vacant full position for that group.
And is that for a business owner or for a resident?
I believe it was an at-large position.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
All right, thanks.
How many large positions are they? Because I thought that we.
One.
Two.
Okay, so
Two
because we
at-large, one
appointed
resident.
Jeremy Claiborne to at-large.
He was to EDC.
Yeah.
Oh, he did
Yeah, not to
EPC.
that.
Sorry. Okay, I knew we appointed him. Thank you. I need help these days.
We're here to help you.
Couple questions. Number one, does Waverly have crossing guards? Do they utilize crossing guards at any spot?
They do. I'd have to defer to Preston on that.
Mhm.
They do, but I believe it is they're at other locations. I
So
don't
not
think that they
out
have
on
one
St. Joe.
at St. Joe and
I think they're at elementary
No.
schools.
yeah, they're at elementary schools.
Oh, okay, not for the high school.
And
No.
there was some discussion about possibly pulling one over, but as I understand it, they're very short on crossing guards, so that's a challenge I think every school district
Schools are
is
challenged, yeah,
facing.
Short on everybody. Are there plans to put any kind of markings on St. Joe? Do we have any markings on St. Joe about school zone or kids crossing, anything like that?
There are school zone
Signs?
signs and
But-
blinking lights. I
There's a school speed zone.
Okay,
school speed zone. There are
and there are
pedestrian
crosswalks there for the
crossings.
kids?
I don't remember if they're painted crosswalks or not. There, do you remember, Jake? They'll
Oh, they will
be
be.
painted. yeah.
Okay, okay, good. All right. And on the other two, on the short-term rentals on Wardell Road and the Anderson Park, thank you for the updates. We're getting emails from residents and I just want everyone to be aware that we are moving on these things. It's not something that we can snap our fingers and they're magically solved, but it's good to have these updates so that it is top of mind. So thank you.
Absolutely.
And anything else for Brian? I do want to just give you an election update. First of all, we, had a voter registration drive at Waverly High School last week. Waverly is
Good.
very engaged with voter registration drives and really focused on getting their 18-year-olds registered to vote or have the opportunity to register to vote. And we are, at this point, we have issued 10,706 absentee ballots. We issued 148 today. It was, if anybody tried to get through the lobby downstairs, it was a madhouse all day. And we received 523 ballots today. We have 6,072 ballots back, which is 56.7%. And we're way ahead of the state average.
Mary, when does early in-person voting start?
It starts this Saturday. And for the next 9 days, it starts Saturday at, I think it starts at 8 o'clock Saturday. I don't have the times with me, but. And it goes, we will be here 2 evenings. We do, 8 to 4 on the weekends and basically 9 to 5 during the week, except for Wednesday and Thursday, which we do 11 to 7. So Halloween will be promoting trick or treating upstairs, not in the parking lot. They have to actually come up and vote and then their kids can get candy.
That is here in this.
It's here in this room.
Just
Yes,
so folks know. Great.
yes.
And you'll be in a costume?
No,
Just checking.
that would not be me. Actually, I can't really hang out because I'm on the ballot as
Good point.
nobody here can. That's
It's
on the
8 to
ballot.
4, Mary.
8 to 4. Thank you. Without any other comments?
I have one more.
Yes, sir.
I just want to commend staff. Just noticed on our website that they have it's that time of year, it's the hunting season, and they posted actually what areas of the township it's legal to hunt in. And I just commend staff for posting that in a timely fashion here. So
The calls have started, so it was very nice of them to have done it right away.
yeah.
Any other questions? If none, we are adjourned.
Not very well.